What's up, guys? Today we're talking about some rumors because there are some fairly confident people out there who think there is a new camera coming out called the Canon R5. Let's get into it. All right, so I'm super pumped, as you can see, because Canon is hopefully finally releasing a new camera that is amazing. They're finally like, hey, let's listen to their customers, put some stuff in our cameras and call it a day. And they finally did it. So let's get to the specs. Number one is the name of the camera is probably going to be called the Canon EOS R5 or EOS, whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm kind of disappointed they didn't call it the 5R because, you know, they have the 1D, 5D, 6D, 70D, 80D. So the letter usually comes after the number. That's besides the point. They are saying it'll be a 45 megapixel sensor, 5 stops with IBIS. With the IBIS, yo. And if you use a lens that has IBIS in it as well, you will have up to 7 or 8 stops of in-body stabilization, which is fantastic. Finally, some in-body stabilization. Right now, my EOS R only has digital stabilization, which is basically like a mini warp stabilizer built in. Next is 12 frames per second for photo, and that is mechanical. Now, there is another one. There is electronic shutter, which is up to 20 frames per second, which is huge. Now, we're finally getting into the realm where these photographers and videographers can both love the same camera because it has specs for both. Because I'm pretty sure my EOS R has like 7 frames per second for photo, which is very slow if you're trying to do sports or whatever. We're thinking dual card slots, but it's maybe not 100% likely. We are looking like there's going to be a scroll wheel added back instead of the touch bar. That's kind of what I'm getting from this. And we're also looking at a better, bigger battery. However, it's the same LPE6, but it's most likely going to be more efficient and better. Now let's get into the goodies. The good goods for video, of course. We're looking at 8K 30 frames per second. Now, as we know, Canon previously released cameras that did not have 24 frames per second. So hopefully that means up to 30 frames per second and you can still do 8K 24. Because if you're shooting in 8K, I'm not quite sure why you would want 30 frames per second because you're not shooting a TV show in 8K. You'd be shooting a cinematic movie or wedding film, whatnot, in 8K. But then we're also looking at 4K 120 frames per second and 4K 60 frames per second. Now this is huge. Like, Canon has always been 4K 24 or 30, and it sucks. Like, we want 4K 60. However, the sizes of files are probably going to be bigger than Canada. The only thing we don't know about this is if there is dual pixel autofocus at 120 frames per second in 4K. It's very unlikely that that'll happen. The 4K 60 mode is more likely to have dual pixel autofocus when you're using that setting, but we'll never know because Canon is Canon and they're a loose cannon because you'll never know what they're gonna do. So we'll find out that when it comes. There are a few other minor features, but I'm not gonna get into those because they're not a huge like game changer that Canon is finally doing to make their customers happy with specs in a camera. I will say the EOS R that I have is the most underrated camera of 2019 and I absolutely love it, but there are specs exactly on this list that I really wanted in my camera. I shoot a lot of handheld stuff and IBIS would be absolutely amazing to have. So those are kind of the new features that we're looking at for Canon. Huge game changer if they actually follow through with this. This source is from CanonRumors.com, and they are extremely confident from their source, whoever that may be, that this is going to be the specs that are in the camera. And they're fairly confident, which is a good sign. And they're also thinking the release date may be July 2020, and that might be the ship date, not the actual announcement date. We'll be looking forward to an announcement maybe in the next month or two, hopefully sometime in February, and I will 1000% be pre-ordering this bad boy, and it's going to be great. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you are excited as I am for this. Unless you're a Sony lover and a Canon hater, then that might be an issue. However, this might change your mind. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that thumbs up button and destroy that subscribe button. It really helps me out. It lets YouTube know that you guys like me, and it'll help me out. So, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.